Strange Brew in Circle. And I want to give a very warm welcome to Taran and Naomi, who have agreed to sit in the hot seat for a chat. So thank you so much for that. No worries. Participation. Yeah. So you guys, you own Crystal Arcana, and it's just over 1 year old.
Yeah, next Sunday.
Oh, next Sunday?
Coming up, yeah.
This coming Sunday, yeah.
Okay, wow, okay. So, I guess, I imagine that you dreamt about doing this all your life.
Not at all.
Tell us about it. How did it...
We've actually only been together for a bit over 2 years. So, and that comes to, as a surprise to a lot of people, they think that we've been together forever. And we definitely think that we've known each other in past lives. It was like one of those kind of relationships. But no, we started our business at the beginning of last year. So just before lockdown, we had this idea that we wanted to create crystal lamps with timber and crystals, and you may see like a couple in the shop. It's kind of fallen by the wayside for a bit, but we wanted to do something to keep us on the road. So we wanted to travel in a van. So not long after we got together, we started to build a van together to travel around the country. And then lockdown hit, so that kind of like spoiled those plans. Yeah, and then we thought, oh, what could we do as a business? Well, we're in lockdown, what better time than any to kind of brainstorm what we wanted to do as opposed to the lamps. We thought they'd be a bit fiddly to travel with, and then we started selling crystals with them. And then things got started to evolve, and we started doing markets around June, July last year.
Where were these markets? I've heard about them, but I was surprised really. I thought you'd still be in the shop.
No. So we started doing markets out at Richmond in Western Sydney for a while. So we did that every weekend. And then we started doing crystal festivals, travelling around the country, or not country, but state. So we went all the way up to Willumba, north of Byron, we went to Coffs Harbour, and we actually don't remember having the conversation about a shop. Like, it just kind of evolved, and then next thing we knew, we were looking at locations for a shop, because our business just escalated to the point where we were like, okay, we're sick of traveling with this much stock, like it's a lot of work.
Yeah, packing down and setting up crystals is not a light job.
No, so, like crates full of heavy things that are breakable, so you have to bubble wrap everything before you like pack down, or as you pack down. So we just thought we wanted something permanent, and
so what was the sorry for going here. So what was the decision though to come to Newtown in particular?
For me, it always seemed like the esoteric centre of Sydney, so it kind of felt like a no-brainer. And also, before we opened, there weren't any other crystal shops that we knew of in Newtown. We did realise there was one down the road from us, and then on the same day that we opened, Mineralism opened their shop as well. So then it kind of just suddenly became this hub of like other crystal shops, which is really like played in our favour, because everyone kind of now comes to Newtown for that.
So this whole thing with the crystals though, like what was the attraction to all these rocks?
I guess the story's a bit different for both of us. I don't know if you want to.
So I have a different background prior to us meeting, where I was a commercial electrician for I think 6 years. So, and then we met and it kind of evolved more, but I came from more of the occulty kind of goth side of life, and then slowly got older and evolved, and then became a tradesperson. And
but it was still deep down, like everything that you do. I mean, your profession's not who you are a lot of the time, right? So.
And then it's just, I don't know, it just exploded, and Naomi had a lot of stones at home, and then
Okay, but how did you two meet?
on Bumble.
Yeah.
So on a dating site.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of like Tinder, but I don't know, maybe there's
Classier.
it's supposed to be classier.
When I was on there, so.
And it's funny, we just like went on a date, but we didn't have any intention of getting into a long-term relationship. But then we realised like how well suited we were for each other. So. Yeah.
That's quite a story, actually. And, but it does make me also wonder just where, I guess, how you grew up and why the interest in these sorts of things. So
yeah, I guess we haven't really answered that. So I mean, for me, growing up, I was that little girl that was really excited about fairies and dolphins and anything like magical. I would be that little girl in the garden creating like fairy gardens and doing all that kind of stuff. So I've always had like a really strong imagination and been really into that. And then as I got older, I kind of went down like a little bit of a goth route, emo route, but still interested in alternative things. And I always had like a little crystal collection, but I didn't really know like the significance of it in my life until much later. So I guess as I got older, I got into things like I did circus arts, I did yoga, and I learned how to read tarot.
You ran away with the circus?
No, I just trained in this in circus arts. So I did like lyra and silk and trapeze and that kind of thing. So I've always done things that are a little bit like out of the norm, and I've always been interested in esoteric side of things. So I learned tarot and I got my Reiki practitioner certification. So I feel like I was heading in this direction, but I didn't know where I was going to end up. And before we met, I wanted to start like a retreat with my sister, like just a camping retreat, which turned into a bunch of red tape with New South Wales, trying to find a location, and then it wasn't as organic or as natural as I wanted it to be. Like, it's very hard to just set up tents on a property and have people come and just experience things. You have to have disabled facilities and roads, and it just kind of got beyond what I wanted it to be, and then that fell away once we like decided. But I think we're both very business focused, business minded. So he's an Aries, I'm a Scorpio, and so we're just both fire. Fire in terms of just like
butting heads
projects. We're always going, like, we've always got something that we're trying to do.
Tell me a bit about your background. Like, where did you grow up?
So I'm from the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, so I grew up on a property covered in forest that I was there for like 10 years, and that's our whole, like, I guess life was around gardens and things like that. So I've always liked earthy nature and that kind of stuff. And then the beach, so if anyone knows the Sunshine Coast, and I was from a place called Budrup, which was a mountain very close to a beach, so it's like 15 minutes, from say like the Blue Mountains to Bondi is like a 15-minute kind of drive. So I think I had the best of both worlds, where you kind of got to have both. And then I was the alternative person, or like a group of us on the coast, wearing PVC and mesh shirts, in 45-degree heat up there with heavy humidity. And then moved down to Sydney 15 years ago. I came for a 3-day holiday and I needed to go home. So, and I've done all sorts of things. So I worked for JB Hi-Fi, and I was a concrete renderer. So I did body mod for quite a few years on the Sunshine Coast. So implants and branding and scarring and all the heavy fun stuff. So, and then we met, and then my life path completely kind of 180 from where I was heading. So I was heading for like, the house with 3 kids and all that kind of thing. And then we met, and it just went completely the other way. For the better, I should say. It was all for the better, but yeah. And then here we are.
Even lifestyle, like your last relationship wasn't, I guess, where you completely changed for a little bit. And then, which happens, I guess, sometimes, right? So.
Okay. So, if you had a, I guess, a slogan that you're going to use to describe either your life or the shop, I mean, how do you have a slogan? Like, get stoned or
Well,
something like that?
that's our other slogan that we have. That's the other one. I mean, our title is Crystal Wood and Good Vibes because that's what we were, you know, and we are like earth and stone kind of thing, that kind of combined. And we like to be relaxed and chill and have good vibes because why wouldn't you? So yeah.
And I do, but I guess we try and pick things that like are aesthetic as well as full of good knowledge. Like we don't want to have a bunch of the same stuff. We do try and have a bit of everything. And if people come in and ask for a particular title, like we'll get them in and see how it goes in the store. And we're forever like evolving the range based on, I guess, what sells, which is just good business, I guess. But we also have a relationship with Rockpool Publishing, so a lot of our titles are from them, and they always send us like samples of things, so and they get our input on like what's coming in and what's doing well and whatnot. But we also try and curate things that other stores don't have. So yeah, I don't really know the detail.
I think we pick what we like as well.
Yeah,
we kind of. It's the same with our tarot and oracle. We have things that we know people want.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it's we just pick titles that we like.
Yeah, and we don't keep things we don't like.
Yeah.
Because we want it to be a good range. We want you to be able to come into the shop and know that we've like vetted it. If it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, it does definitely feel that sort of curation is sort of, it's been thoughtfully chosen. And it's not just sort of ad hoc or put anything in there. So, yeah, let me just find my questions here. So, okay. Okay. You've covered some of the things which I wanted to go on. A few more questions though, but one of the things I've noticed is that I see, or I know, that there are a lot of pagans and witches and locals going into the shop. Do they sort of identify themselves to you, or do they tell you what they're interested in? Or
Yeah.
Yes and no, but yeah.
I see it particularly a lot of younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like to really judge witches, but they are quite young. You know,
Yeah,
teens
yeah.
and things. How do you, I don't know, navigate advising? Do they ask for your advice on what they should be reading or buying?
I mean, you have a bit of both. You have some that come in and they know exactly what they want and they'll tell you like what something's good for. And then you have other people who ask for advice. And we were having a chat about this actually, saying that a lot of people come in and they're quite confused or misguided because there's so much information out there, and TikTok's not really helping because there's a lot of, and that's what a lot of young people are watching now. And there's a lot of like people and they're saying, don't do this, don't do that. And we have a lot of people come in that are quite scared actually, like to try things because they think that they're going to do something wrong, or they're worried and they just want to make sure that they're doing it the right way. And so we do a lot of reassuring and a lot of just letting people know that it's your own practice, and you know that even if someone else says that something is wrong or maybe like you shouldn't do it some way, like you really have to come to that decision yourself. So it's a very interesting time because there's been this big resurgence, which you would have seen.
Absolutely. So what's the funniest thing people have asked you for in the shop?
We were talking about this because it's hard to say, I think, what the funniest thing that someone's asked us for, but Naomi has a story. We haven't got
a
it.
Funny story.
Yeah, it's a bizarre. I mean, it's probably the most bizarre thing that's happened in the shop. If you want to.
I mean, we get a lot of interesting characters just in general in the area, and there's one time a guy came in and he was just rambling quite clearly, like was on something, and he just came to the counter, was rambling like lyrics at me, and then as he left, he stopped and looked at me and then picked up a crystal egg and licked it and then put it back down and went down.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
So that's probably the wildest thing that's happened in the shop so far. It's been a year. But
I don't know what to make of that. I mean, like the vibe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just looked at Taran, he came out, I go, can you just go pick up the egg and go and like cleanse that? Have we sold it? I don't think it's going to sell, it's just
It was one of our favourite stones as well, so I think that was the other thing. It was like, it's been tainted. It's still out the bag.
We did cleanse it.
And wash it, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so, okay, what's the one thing you wish you'd known before you opened the shop?
How much theft there is from children. That's like a harsh reality, I think, of retail that people don't think about. Especially, like, neither of us had ever, like, run a business, especially one with tiny things that can go walkabout. So,
even adults still do.
Yeah. But beyond that, probably how much work goes into your own business.
Yes.
You know, we're like, yeah, we're going to be our own bosses. We're going to, work for ourselves, and then we work, 3 times as much as before when we were, we thought it was so much worse, kind of.
Yeah.
Putting in these hours for someone else. But I guess the other thing is it's the gratification that it's like us. You work for yourself, so we're building our own business. So we kind of, reap what we sow. So the more we put in, the more we get out of it. So I think that's the.
But you're in an area really where I imagine retail pricing for rent is fairly high.
Yeah.
Like that. Was that ever a worry before you went into it? Yeah.
We thought about it. Like we did look at, because I lived out in Western Sydney, and we knew that there was a gap in the market out there because that's where we were doing markets. And we thought about opening up out there, but then we thought, well, I mean, higher rent, but there's more foot traffic out this way, and it's the place that you would think of going, like the first place you would think of Googling to get crystals or something similar. So.
Well, I sometimes refer to Newtown as the cultural centre of the universe, and for several very good reasons. One, that there are more theatres in the Newtown precinct than anywhere else in Australia. There are more bookshops than anywhere else in Australia, and there are more cafes. So yeah, it's an interesting area, and it always has had a bit of a witchy vibe. I know when I first came back to Sydney, a local magical group was meeting here, and so I was trekking to Newtown, and then I decided I'm going to move here because it was such a wonderful space. You entered into the market though at a particularly difficult time, bloody lockdowns.
Yeah.
How on earth did you manage that? Surviving.
I don't think we know, but
we kind of unknowingly tapped into Instagram live sales. So you want to talk about that, but
so we originally when we started, we were at home. Naomi was. I actually got made redundant as an electrician, so I was working for the business full time then, and Naomi was moonlighting, so she was working from home she was a corporate analyst doing that. And then Friday, no, what night was it? Thursday night. There was a few different nights, but we jumped on Instagram to do a live, so started a live sale. Naomi was hosting it and I was on the computer. That lasted for half an hour, and then I realised that I'm not the numbers person. I was, so we switched and then it changed, and that was kind of when it really started working for us, and then that evolved, and then we started growing more and more and more, doing them every week, gaining more of a following, and then we became, and because it was during lockdown, we became like the night out, especially for Melbourne. We got a lot of customers from Melbourne saying we were I would get pretty wasted, better word. But really like knocking drinks off the table and stuff. But I think a lot of people were tuning in, and crystals. I think a lot of people were tuning in for the party and for the fun, and then you know staying for the crystals and kind of So it was. I think it was everything, and then that carried along, and then we opened the shop, and then obviously lockdown happened again. And then we went back to knowing the platform. We went back to it. So in those past 3.5 months when we were locked down, we went back to lives. So Friday night was back to drinking and selling crystals online. So which was fun. It is. It's a lot of fun. The next day's not for me, but yeah.
It's a full-time job though. Like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to run those. But yeah, it kept us going. At least paying for the rent and some of our staff to stay on during lockdown, which we were super grateful for. So we didn't have to get rid of anybody, and it kept us going to like reopen again. So yeah, people are obsessed with live sales of crystals, which who knew, but we were lucky to fall upon that. So.
I don't know if anyone's been on, but it's actually unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's the same people on every live sale.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of this.
There's a lot of live sales, and there's a huge community that are on every single one of them. And there's one every night of the week. Yeah.
It just started growing, I guess. A lot of other businesses started opening during lockdown as well. So yeah, now there's like multiple on the same night.
Yeah.
I mean, you could almost run a workshop on how to do it. For retailers, I don't know. Well, maybe we're in the secret.
We haven't thought about that.
Yeah, we definitely think like later in life we'll probably end up in like business consulting or something. Who knows?
Okay, so So, have you heard of the esoteric walk?
No, but I did look it up.
It's definitely a thing. Like you go in London. If you go to Treadwell's or Watkins and the Atlantis, it's one of the oldest stores, and they've had lots of very famous novels sort of hang out in those places. And there are many more. There's another one called The Astrologer, I think, and Buddha on a Bicycle, I believe, is all the thing at the moment. But they have these little, it's just a little map which they give out at the stores, just I think photocopied. And it pinpoints where the other shops are. Has there been any development of sort of, I don't know, relationship with other stores in the area? Because it does seem to be a bit of a hub.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, it's only been a year though, so who knows?
Yeah.
But definitely there could be something, like there's one for breweries, right?
Yeah, there's an Inner West brewery map,
There's even a graffiti wall, like in the end of King Street, not King Street, Edmore Road, of all the breweries, So I'm sure in time we'll collaborate.
I think it's definitely a thing. I mean, the next thing might be an app or something like that to streamline it and get it distributed. But it definitely seemed to be, like you would go into one shop and then you realise, oh, there's this place I hadn't heard of before. That's how I discovered Watkins actually, which is amazing. And they also do a lot of live and recorded Zoom calls and things like that for authors. Authors will come into the shop and they'll talk about their book. That's released, that sort of thing. So check them out because they're quite professional at it. So I was almost weekly there with stuff very soon, churning it out. I know a few of the authors who've been on recently. There's a guy escapes online, but he's recently released. It's a re-release of Crowley's book Magic, and he's done a commentary throughout it, so he helps break down the information. Stephen Skinner. He's a doctor, Dr. Stephen Skinner. It's sort of I guess an esoteric academic. So it's very wonderful.
Can we ask a question?
You can indeed.
Okay.
I'll what's the word?
Okay. Open the floor.
A question from the audience. Mara, what do you want to say?
I just wanted to know why you guys chose to go with the Norse Viking theme as what we call a pantheon, rather than another mythology, you know, like the Greek or the Roman. I mean, because it seems to be when you walk into the shop, in your shop, there's this very strong Viking Norse element as opposed to other.
Yeah, I think that's just what we resonated with more than anything. We just, you know, knowing a bit about it and researching it, I think it just draws us in, and I think it's a bit more. I find especially Norse to be quite a lot more pagan, you know, and like earth-based, I guess, for me personally than some of the others. Yeah. So, and yeah, we relate to it.
Yeah, even before like we met, like I bought a rune set and learned how to do rune readings and whatnot. And then you even got your fingers tattooed with runes, and that was before we even had the idea of the business. So it's kind of been with us before then. It's not like we decided to just chuck them on there because we wanted something there. And even when we were making our lamps with crystals, we were carving rune symbols in and bind runes because they have strong meaning for us. So when you walk in the shop and you've got the symbols on the sides, they're huge protection symbols. So you've got the Norse compass, which is, you know, never losing your way, and then the and so yeah, everything we kind of put in there and the placement was strategic as well.
And it's cool.
Yes,
it is. Yeah. And it's interesting that you now that you described that, I'm just thinking when I've got in, there is a sense of being somehow orientated or surrounded by something. And that protection you talk about, I think that's tangible. You know, it's something at a subliminal level that you connect with, at least I notice it now that you sort of articulate it that way. Has anyone else got any other questions they'd like to ask? Yes. Lisa?
How'd you know? I just had a question about, like, you know how you say there's a lot of misinformation on TikTok and like it kind of shows. Like, do you have any examples of that, or because I don't watch TikTok, but
yeah. I mean, there's so many. Like, for example, I guess not one that's misinformation, but it can be personal choice. Like someone has to buy your first tarot deck for you. That's a big one. People coming in asking if they're allowed to buy themselves one. And I mean, it's nice to have someone buy one for you, but not everyone has an older witch in their life that would actually know to do that. Or, I mean, that's not in our. I bought my own tarot deck for the first time. I mean, no one would know what to buy for me, and it's personal, right? You want to pick something that you resonate with. People ask, like, oh, do I have to cleanse with sage? Should I put everything out, every single crystal I own out under the moon, every moon cycle? And I'm like, well, if we did that, like, that would take a long time. It's not. It's just things that people think like they have to do this, and we're like, no, they're just ideas. It's something that you could practice. Some of the biggest ones are like, you have to get this crystal in your life, and there's a lot of videos on there about
maybe it was Moldavite. I laughed because the biggest thing was Moldavite.
And then have another Moldavite conversation.
Every like 13 to 17-year-old girl was coming in asking for Moldavite, but just to see it because they were terrified, because if they touch it, you know, someone in their family's going to die, or they're going to crash their car, and people were on TikTok crying and saying, you know, it's ruined my life. It just got over dramatized, and it's a very, if anyone knows, it's a very expensive tektite, and it just got more and more expensive because of that. And it was just
what it is for anyone who doesn't
so
know
from
Moldavite.
In the Czech Republic, a meteor hit, and the I guess it's all the fragments went up into the atmosphere and then cooled and then peppered the Czech Republic. So it's space glass. So it's green space glass. Very high vibration, high energy. It's the myth is that you it like puts you on your path to destiny. So that's its actual the whole concept behind it, but the fact that this thing was like too powerful to hold and that it was like kryptonite that, like, you know, no one could harness its power was just wildly outrageous. So I'm also on we're on TikTok, so I think I'm on TikTok, so I think I've done a Moldavite rant. So I kind of take the piss about a lot of things because I think it should be fun. That's the other thing. I think a lot of this community is there's a lot. I should say a lot of the community are caught up in, like, you know, the seriousness or the rules of this and that, and I'm not serious, obviously, in the slightest. So I mean, I can be, but yeah, that's, to me, that was the biggest thing. Sorry, I was just like, the Moldavite thing is all I ever think of when someone talks about TikTok, because it was unbelievable how many people were coming in, like on the daily, 5, 6, 7, 8 people, like just Moldavite. Where it became a joke where I would, like, kind of turn and then go and have a rant to them about it. Be like, let me tell you something.
Why do you want it?
Yeah, why do you want it? You know, because I want a new job. I said, okay, we'll go look for a job. I would tell people that a girl came and wanted to break up with a partner, and I said, well, if you're not in a good place, and she did in the shop. She actually texted her partner and did it, which I didn't. I feel like I've obviously made her do that, but you know, we have the power. You have the power in your life, right, to do these, like, to do things, to do whatever you want to do. Yeah. So don't rely on. This is horrible for our business to be like, don't rely on crystals to do anything. But you know, don't.
Yeah, you give it power, right? So if you buy a Moldavite and think, oh, when I leave, if I get this, something bad's going to happen to my family, you're, like, really putting the wrong energy into that.
You're manifesting, right? This is the whole thing. You're manifesting that to happen.
So we're just trying to educate people not to do that.
There was the whole witch craze of cursing the moon, wasn't it? On TikTok, I believe the TikTok witches were baby witches, and they were talking about going to curse the moon, and it was the most ridiculous thing ever imagined. You know, like and the point would be what exactly? Yeah. And what's going to happen when you do? And it was just crazy. And there have been these. It's almost like a little psychic sort of spasm occurs. What do they call it? A tantrum, an elemental tantrum of some sort erupts, and people become obsessed with it. And you know, it's meaningless.
It's a trend. It's a social media trend, and trends just can't be stopped, you know, and this is what happens. They just build momentum and just get crazier and crazier and pick up everyone on the way. So,
there hasn't been one for a while, but there were a couple of stones, like carnelian. Suddenly people were coming in, everyone was asking for carnelian, and we're like, is this on TikTok? And they're like, but that's not why I want it. We're like, okay, just want it.
Wow. But it sounds as though you can do market research, really, like, quite practical market research, and ordering appropriately. So.
But it was too late because these stones take
we're not ahead of the curve, so that's the thing. It's we are too late for it. So.
But we've got our younger staff, and we're like, tell us, keep us on the pulse, like what's new on TikTok.
Or maybe with a slightly more sinister bent in my mind, you know, is start a rumour with something you already have.
Well, we have spoken about that, trying to, like, start something off that we've got a lot of that doesn't sell. Maybe that'd be a good idea.
So, what's in the pipeline for Crystal Arcana? What are you planning for the future? Can you tell us?
We've got a lot of ideas. We always have ideas. Let's just say that we're not going to stop evolving and innovating and coming up with new ideas.
We have another big concept, which is not in the shop. Look, she's looking at me worried that I'm going to say something. No, but it's another...
We just don't know the details of what we want to do.
No.
It's another facility.
Actually, I got a question for you. I was just, while you were talking this, it came to my head. Have you thought about holding events, like obviously not during the day, but at night time, so a special evenings where you invite your database of, that if you've got a database, to celebrate Norse or Vikings, special, days of the year. Have you thought about that?
That's a good idea. Now we'll take that and use it, because that is a really good idea. So we have
We have talked about it.
yeah, within our other facility, hosting certain things, and
I don't know, we're thinking we need somewhere, we were thinking like at the shop there's not a lot of room to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So whether we did something like you're doing here, maybe like some kind of event or, I don't know, some other location. We
in a
don't
more
really
permanent
know.
location.
I mean, the Norse are pretty big with the midnight sun, which is their summer solstice. Really. That's the big event, because a lot of the younger generation will stay up all night, drinking and making merry, watching the sun dip very close to the horizon and rise again. So that's the one festival that I know is particularly popular. Well, amongst general populace rather than just the pagan community. So midnight sun.
Yeah, to be able to host them like that would be good throughout the whole kind of pagan calendar. Yeah.
Or even be aware of things like that that are happening that we could share with the community. So I think as we focus less on actually getting the shop running properly, the more of these kinds of things that we could do, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to, I suppose, call in regularly to see what the developments are, see as they emerge. Yeah. Thank you so much, Taran. And,
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
It was great chatting to you guys. And I think we shall now make merry with the rest of our wine.
Thank you.